Okay, so the question in this exercise is to write a program that will read the temperature from the user in degrees Celsius and then convert it to degree Fahrenheit and then displays the result. Okay, so this is the formula to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit. It's temperature in Celsius times 9/5 plus 32. Okay, so there are different steps involved in this program. There is first reading input, converting, and then displaying result. Okay. Another step which may not be very evident from the problem text is that you will need to have variables to store the values of the temperature in Celsius or Fahrenheit. So you need to think about what variables do you need in order to solve this problem. Okay. Now in this example, if you take a look at the formula, it's kind of pretty evident that there are two variables. One of them is the temperature in degrees Celsius, and then the temperature in degree Fahrenheit. So you can start with those two variables, and as we discussed in class, to create a variable you will need to determine the data type, you need to give it a name, the identifier, and then you need to give it an initial value. What could be a suitable data type for the temperature in Fahrenheit and Celsius? Double, right? Because temperature in general, you can have decimal points. Okay, so a double, if you do it as an integer, you will miss on the fact that there are temperatures that are not whole numbers. So in this case, let's start with a double temperature in Fahrenheit. So notice the camel case. And I'm going to give it an initial value of maybe 0. Okay. And I'm going to do the same for temperature in Celsius. So that's the first step. The second step is to read the temperature in Celsius from the user. The third step is to convert it. Now, many times you may often want, or to start with the part that is easier for you, and then work on the part that is harder to you. So it depends on your familiarity with reading input and converting. So many often it's possible to alternate by just assuming there are some values, for instance, and then do the conversion and then fix the reading part later down the road. So let's assume, for the sake of this example, that the user enters 33. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to assign temperature 33 to temperature C. Okay. Now this need to be replaced by reading from the keyboard. But let's hold onto this thought for now and keep working on the formula, assuming that we are more familiar doing mathematical expressions than reading the input. So how do we translate this formula from a math formula to Java? So I'm going to do kind of a straightforward conversion. Temp F is equal to temp C times 9/5 plus 32. Okay. So this is just a straightforward translation. And then once I'm done, I'm going to display the result. I'm going to do system out println the temperature in degree Fahrenheit is temp F. Okay. So this is basically a program that does the conversion, but it only does it for the value of 33. So let's run the program and see what we get. We're getting this result. The temperature in degree Fahrenheit is 91.4. Okay. Now, it's always a good idea to test the results against a value which is correct. So for the sake of this example, let's use any online calculator, for instance, Fahrenheit to Celsius, as Google conveniently provides one. So if I do 33, oops, it's the opposite actually. So if I do 33, I'm going to get 91.4. Okay. So apparently my program is working fine. Now the reason of testing this is that many often you may commit an error in the formula, and you will not know that there is an error unless you know the correct output. In the Zybook environment, this is provided by the lab because the lab is going to test your output. But say you are writing a program from outside Zybooks, it's an issue if you don't know that your input is resulting in the correct output. So let's commit a mistake in here, for instance. Let's say, for instance, I use parentheses, 9/5. Now this seems a very kind of benign thing to do. I mean, I just added 2 parentheses. It shouldn't change the result, okay? If I run my program one more time, what's going to happen in here is that I'm going to get 65, okay, instead of 91.4. And the reason is that Java now did this 9/5 as an integer division, and divided 9/5, you will get 1 instead of 1.8 because it's an integer division. Okay, so it's always a good idea to test against an input-output pair that it's correct. All right, so now the last step is just to make this value varies depending on user input. So as we discussed in class, in order to read input, we use the scanner class. So to use it, first you need to import the scanner from its library, java.util scanner. Okay. What I did. Cancel. So import scanner. And then this is the third variable you will need. You will need actually a scanner to read from input. Okay. So scanner, name SCNR or keyboard, create that new object, new scanner, and then pass system.in to read from the keyboard. Okay. Next, instead of doing 33, I'm going to read input. Now, so far in the course, we've been using the method nextInt to read an integer. Okay. And this will work pretty fine in here, but this will not allow the user to enter any decimal point. In other words, if the user enters 33, the program would run. But if the user enters 33.5, you'll get an error, although temperature Celsius is a double that allows you to store that decimal point. The reason being is that nextInt is a method that reads an integer. It's expecting an integer, so you cannot enter a double. Okay. Now, it happens that the scanner class provides another method to read double called nextDouble. Okay. So if you're not sure, you can check the documentation of the scanner class. If you click on scanner, it's going to give you the documentation here. And if you scroll to the list of methods that the class provides, you'll see nextDouble, the method nextDouble down below. Okay. I think there is a way to open the documentation in a big window. So window, I'm going to look for Or alternatively, you can go to the Java API, Java API, and search for the class scanner. So if you search for a scanner, this is the class scanner, and if you scroll down under the list of methods, it provides all of the list of methods that this class provides. So you can see there is next integer that we looked at, next int, but there is another method called next double, which will give you a double value instead of an integer. So instead of next integer, I'm going to use next double, okay? And now when I run, the user can still provide a double value and get the results here. Now finally, as we said in class, whenever you're reading input, prompt the user. Otherwise, it's not clear what this program is expecting, right? It's running and nothing is showing up, right? It's expecting an input, so we need to make it clear. So what I'm going to do, I'm going just to provide a prompt. Maybe print in this case if I want the number to be entered beside that line. Please enter temperature in degree Celsius. Okay. So when I run next time, it's going to prompt me, and if I enter the value, I'm going to get the equivalent in Fahrenheit. Okay. So again, 4 steps. What variables do I need? I obviously needed two double to store temperature in Fahrenheit and Celsius, and then a scanner to read from input, and then next reading the value from the input, a prompt, and then next double from the keyboard. Third, the formula, paying attention to the details, and finally displaying the results.